morning class, good morning students. I am Vivek Birda, your faculty and coach for the subject business environment. This subject we have taken up in our previous two classes also, where we have seen about what is business, what is the nature of business, what are goals and objectives of the business, what are key components of the business. Also we have seen what are the various essential elements of the business. Now, in the next slide, we have next class we have seen about the business environment, where we have seen what is business environment, what are the types of business environment, what are key elements of business environment, what is the scope and the significance of business environment, and so on. Today, again, we are moving further to this subject, and we will be studying further more important topics related to the syllabus and about the subject. First, we will be studying about, in today's class, we will be studying about the business ecology. Then we will be studying about business environment, interrelationship. Furthermore, we will be studying about the types of environment, the internal environment. In this internal environment, we will be discussing in detail. We will be discussing in detail about the types of internal environment, which includes value system, vision, mission, and the objective. We will be discussing about the management structure and the nature. Then we will be discussing about the internal power relationship. Then about the human resource, role of human resource. Then about the company's image and the brand equity, and few miscellaneous factors. And a small overview for the external environment. This is all about for the today's content for the presentation with you all. So moving again on the subject business environment with the first topic for the today's class, that is called business ecology. So what do you mean by the word business ecology? Remember, it is combination of two words, business and ecology. Business, as we have seen, is something where we come down for some either profit, revenues, or people meet together for some reasons. But when you talk about the ecology, this is something related or something similar like the human ecology. The human ecology. If I talk about the business ecology, see, the business ecology represents the survival and the success of a business. The survival and success of the business firm depends upon two set of factors. It depends upon two set of factors. The first is internal factor and the second is called external factor. The internal factors are called as internal environment of the business, and the external factors are called as an external environment of the business. Again, I am repeating two important words. The first word is survival. किसी भी कंपनी के टिकने की, आगे सर्वाइव करने की एबिलिटी उसके दो एनवायरमेंट्स में डिपेंड करती है, उसके दो फैक्टर्स में डिपेंड करती है. And once they survive, further to grow, to take the growth or to take the success is again dependent on these two factors. So what is internal environment or internal factor? The internal environment or the internal factor is basically its innate strength. It is their internal strength. It is their innate strength. And it represents the resources at its command. Those things which are directly under the control of the company, directly under the supervision of the company, or directly under the purview of the company, which includes physical resources, financial resources, human resources, interlinkages, and the synergy, skills, and the organization as overall. Thus, its adaptability to the environment and the extent to which the environment is favorable to the development of the organization represents the survival and the success of the organization with respect to the internal environment. So remember, internal environment represents all those things. It represents all those things on which the company or the organization has direct control, direct command. वो चीजें क्या हो सकती है जिसके वो कंपनी का डायरेक्ट कंट्रोल कमांड है? फॉर एग्जांपल, उनकी इंटरनल फिजिकल रिसोर्सेज, the materials includes machines also, and it even includes the goods also. These things are directly controlled under the control of the organization. Apart from that, either their financial part, financial resources, their fund, cash flow, fund flow, their working capital management, their budgeting structures, their dividend policies, either their day-to-day operational processes, everything is again controlled by the internal strength of the organization, internal process of the organization. Now the human resource, that is the human, man. Man is something which is for the organization. Every organization has its employee database. They are directly under the purview of the organization. No other company can control their manpower. No other company or the organization has a control over them. Further, the interlinkages between these three resources and different parameters with respect to their and the synergy skill and the organization's adaptability to the environment show how strongly and how smoothly the organization can grow ahead in the business. And thus, more the things are favorable to the organization, more better is the organizational professional growth. When we talk with respect to the external environment, the external environment thus broadly has two things. It represents all those things where the business has some opportunities and also all those things where the business has some threats. So the external environment includes those things. Broadly, it includes all those things. Remember, it includes all those things जहाँ से company या business को benefit या मुनाफा मिल सकता है, growth मिल सकती है, उनको आगे बढ़ने के लिए chances या possibilities मिल सकती हैं. Whereas it is also the risk which comes through the external part mainly. The threats which come through the external part, they are also part of the external environment. Thus, similarly, the organizational environment has two components, that is the strength and the weakness of the organization. The internal part includes strength and weakness, the external part includes opportunities and threats. And combined we say SWOT, that is called SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. So the organizational environment has two components, one is called strength and the weakness of the organization. Thus, the strategy formulation is properly pitting the organizational factors, that is the internal environment, against the opportunities and threats in the external environment. That is, the strategy formulation is properly pitting. If the company has their very carefully planned strategies, if they are very carefully portrait strategies, those strategies will be useful in organizing the factors which are related both to the internal and also those related to the operational parts of the organization. In other words, the business decisions are conditioned by two set of factors, that is the internal environment and secondly by the external environment. Next slide includes the interrelationship between the business environment. See, you can see on the screen there are two images. The first image represents the internal environment, the second image represents the external environment. In the business, any decision you take, the factors which influence the business decision is a combination of the internal and the external environment. None of your decision can be made in the isolation or only dependent on the one factor. Always your decisions are directly or indirectly controlled by the external environment. And this external environment is something which is beyond the company's purview or beyond the company's control. So this particular thing we need to understand. Any meaningful organization has definitely have some mission, definitely have some objectives and the goals and the strategies to which they want to achieve. What is goal? What is mission? What is vision? If I just tell you like mission क्या होता है और vision क्या होता है? Vision होता है organization की long term planning. कंपनी अपने आप को लंबे समय में कहाँ कैसे देखना चाहती है, that is called the vision. So vision is a long term planning or a long term strategy of the organization. And to achieve or to complete that strategy, to complete that thing, the small short-term goals which are being taken up are called as the mission of the organization. So mission and the vision are two important words which we need to remember. These we have heard about various missions. For example, there is a mission, let us say mission Kargil, mission surgical strike, or mission, let us say the sports team has a mission to take the World Cup for the country. So mission represents the short-term target, and multiple short-term targets represents the vision. And to achieve those missions, to achieve those small short-term targets, the further goals are being created. That means the small goals are created, and those goals are further subdivided into small objectives. These objectives, then goals, then mission, and then vision are the strategic tools for any organization. They are the strategic tools for any organization. Remember, any business environment, any meaningful business organization, they definitely have the objectives, goals, vision, mission with them. And the business environment has bearing on the shaping of these integral and interrelated elements. Integral and interrelated elements. Now next over here, the mission and the objective. The next paragraph says about the mission and the objective of the organization. The mission and the objectives or the goals themselves should be based on the assessment of the external environment. You can't create the mission based on your internal part. Always remember the missions. mission क्या होते हैं? mission हम बाहर की दुनिया को देख के सोचते हैं कि और लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, हमें कहाँ जाना है, हमारा मिशन क्या है, हमारे गोल्स क्या हैं. So mission or the goals or the objectives of the organization, they are always planned, taking care of the external environment. तो आप यहाँ पर देख सकते हैं interrelatedness क्या है. One is the goals are internal, but they are planned by thinking about the external world. So you can see the interrelationship or interrelatedness between the two elements, which is our topic over there. Now, in this part, we need to see one more important word that is called SWOT. The SWOT analysis basically represents strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. I am saying strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. These are the four words which is a very important tool for, or also known as a strategic tool, which can be applied to anyone, any organization, any country, any individual, or to anything. This tool helps the individual to grow, to identify themselves, to make the strategies, to understand the challenges, and to correct themselves. The SWOT tool is something, SWOT analysis is something which represents the organizational strength and weakness, and also discuss about the opportunities and threats in the external environment. And therefore, it is the first step in the strategic management of the organization. So these two things we have seen over here. Now, when we talk about the further part of the interrelationships, see, business environment have three levels. Business environment have three levels. When we talk about the levels, business environment has three levels. The first level represents the internal environment. The second level represents the external environment, which can be further divided into two parts. One is called macro environment, and the second is called as a macro environment. The first one is called as an internal environment. The second part represents your external environment. External environment is further divided into micro environment, or it is divided into macro environment. So internal environment is what? Internal environment represents, or they are generally regarded as the controllable factors. They are generally regarded as the controllable factors which the company has control over time. These factors are those which a company can alter or modify based on their own requirement. ये वो factors हैं जिनके ऊपर company का direct control होता है. The company can change them, the company can alter them, the company can modify them, or they can even change them perfectly. Such factors can be related either to the person, physical facilities, organization, functional means, or various marketing mix which suit to the environment. Remember, internal environment internal environment is something, as I discussed previously in this slide, is something which is directly and indirectly under the control of the organization. और ये वो फैक्टर्स होते हैं जिनको कंपनी डायरेक्टली कंट्रोल करती है. These factors can be related. These factors can be related to the organization's marketing mix. These factors can be related to the organizational human resource management. These factors can be related even to the organizational basic operational part. Now, next over here is the external environment. The external environment represents those factors which represent the socio-cultural element. The socio-cultural elements, apart from that, it represents the legal, political, demographic, technological, geophysical, and also various other uncontrollable factors which are beyond the scope of the organization, जो कंपनी के स्कोप में नहीं, कंपनी के प्रीव्यू में ये वो factors. These external factors can be further subdivided into two parts. The first part represents the macro environment. Also called as the task environment or the operating environment, and the second represents macro environment, also called as the general environment or the remote environment. When I talk about the macro environment represents the external factors which have direct and intimate impact on the firms, like the suppliers and the distributors of the firm. These factors can be classified as a macro environment and are also called as the task environment or the operating environment. Remember, micro environment are directly those environment which are also external environment, but they are directly under the contact, immediate contact of the company. For example, suppliers and distributors, they are the example of this part. और ये वो एलिमेंट्स होते हैं जो कंपनी के डे टू डे टास्क ऑपरेशनल पार्ट में हेल्प करते हैं. They even help with the operating part and other elements. Whereas the macro environment are those things which are generic, which are little away, which are not directly in touch over there, but they are a little far. But if they change, they can or cannot, may or may not impact the organizational process. So macro environment are on the other side, they represent those which affect the industry very generally. For example, it includes industry policies, the political part, the legal, the regulatory part, even it includes the technological changes, even it includes the political changes, even it includes the cultural changes, the socio-cultural impact, and many more things. So macro environment in general is even called as a remote environment. Now moving to the first environment. That is called as an internal environment. The internal environment. Into the internal environment there are multiple subparts. First thing we will be discussing about the value system. What do you remember? If I am again repeating, moving to the previous slide, internal environment is what? Internal environment are those environments which are directly under the control of the company. They are also called as controllable factors. ये वो चीजें हैं जिसको कंपनी कभी भी चेंज कर सकती है, बदल सकती है, ऑल्टर कर सकती है. They can even, if there is any change, it is only because the company has changed. And those internal factors have no impact to other organizations. They are individual organizations' own plan, own tools, own strategies. So now moving to the internal environment, the first thing we discuss about is the value system. What is value system? What does the value system represent? So value system of an organization represents the value system of the founders. The value system of the founders, those at the helm of the affair, the important bearing of those choices of the business with respect to the mission, objectives of the organization, business policies and the practices. These represent the value system. That means the value system represents the business objectives, the goals, the vision, the mission. Even it represents the business policies and the practices. And more better the company make their plans, more better the company make their strategies, more better the company make their frameworks, with respect to these part. More strong is the value system. For example, there are many companies, for example, Tata. I just take the name of Tata. Tata Group is very proudly named for their values. They believe on the strong values. Same is for the Infosys. Same is, let us say, for the Birla Group. Same we can say for various other companies. But few companies which may be very popular, very big in the revenue, but their value systems may or may not be that strong as compared to some other companies. So value system is basically, it is the fact to which the company can grow ahead. And value system in an organization is very important factor because it pays direct contribution into the organization's success. Thus, the value system and the ethical standards are also among the factors which are evaluated by many companies in the selection of the suppliers, distributors, collaborators, and many more things. So this is about the value system. Now the next part is about the organization, into the internal environment. The next topic is about the vision, mission, and the objective. See, there are two words, vision and mission. And there are again two words, one is called the objective and the goals. Remember, the vision, mission, objectives, goals, everything is very important when we talk about the internal environment. Thus, the business domain of the company, the priorities, direction of the development, the business philosophy, business policies, etc. are guided by the vision, mission, and the objective of the company. This we need to understand. Either of any business domain, any sector, anything, either it is an automobile company, it is a textile company, it is a pharma company, or it may be any real estate based company, or it may be any academic organization, education based, or a shipping, or it may be a defense sector, anywhere. Any company, I am saying any company in the world, any sector in the top. Their company will prioritize their work, they prioritize their things based on the direction which the company gets through their business policy, or they draft their business policies, which is being guided, which is being controlled, which is being governed, which is being mentored, and which is also being controlled directly by the vision, mission, and the objectives of the company. Now, few examples I have listed out. For example, Ranbaxy. Ranbaxy thrust in the foreign market and the development and were driven by the mission, for example, to become the research-based international pharmaceutical company. They have mentioned it into their mission line that they want to become a best in the international market, in international pharmaceutical company. And therefore, because of this line, they were ready to move out of their zones, out of their territory, out of their country. And now Ranbaxy is operational into multiple parts of the world, into multiple countries. This is because their mission line says we have to be the international player, we have to be an international pharmaceutical company. And they are working, their style of working, their philosophy of business working, business strategy, business policy is directly controlled by their mission statement. Moving further to the next example, for example, Arvind Mills. Another example is of the Arvind Mills. Arvind Mills' mission statement is to achieve the global dominance. To achieve the global dominance in the select business built around our core competencies through continuous product and the technical innovation, customer orientation, and focus on the cost effectiveness. Remember this line. This is the mission statement for the Arvind Mills, which says to achieve the global dominance. They want to become the global leader. They want to dominate this textile sector. How? By using their core competencies. They do not want to go for any wrong practices. They say we will be the global leader, we will dominate the textile sector by increasing or by using their core competencies through continuous product and technical innovations. By continuously moving ahead into good over there, and therefore with focus, they are ready to invest into R&D. They are ready to go with updating the technologies. They are ready to go with the improved skill manpower. Then focusing on the customer needs, that is customer orientation, understanding the customer requirements, understanding the market very closely, and also focusing how they can make the product more cost effective, their business operations more cost effective, their things more cost effective. Thus, it says it is further development strategy includes the portfolio strategy, which is indicated through the thrust required in the functional areas to help achieve the mission. So these two examples, one is of the Arvind Mills and the first is of the Ranbaxy, represents how the mission statement itself controls the business policies, business goals, business direction, or gives this blueprint about the company's philosophy overall. And therefore, you can understand the internal environment, which includes the vision, goal, mission, goal, and objective plays how strongly they plays an important role in the organizational style. Moving to the next part, which says about the management structure and the nature. Remember, management structure and the nature is again a very important part. See, the organizational structure is what? It is basically the composition, or it is basically a framework. Or the hierarchical structure in which how the communication will flow, how the roles and responsibilities will be distributed, how the orders will be passed on, how the messages or the designations will be identified. So this organizational structure represents the composition of people, for example, board of directors, professionals, management, etc. And these are important factors which influence, or they are those people which take the business decisions. They are those people who are said to be the people of the top management. These people are very important people, or the key elements of the organization, because they are those people who take the decisions. And those people, if have a strong decision-making ability, can definitely give the good direction to the organization. So the management structures and the styles, the decision-makings are those things which can directly or indirectly control the business very strongly. The management structure plays a very, very, very strong control in the organizational growth. For example, the board of directors being the highest decision-making body, which sets the direction and the development of the organization and which oversees the performance of the organization. Thus, the quality of the board is a very critical factor for the development and the performance of the company. The private sector in India, which presents extreme cases in respect, at one end there are companies which are highly qualified and responsible board, and the other end there are companies which do not process even such things. They do not have the board of members, they do not have the board teams, they do not have the management to take the decisions. They may be either organized or they do not follow the proper structures. Therefore, the shareholding patterns again plays a major role in the organizational part. And large number of shareholding companies in the India, they are very, very strict. So students, further to the next topic, which includes the internal environment with respect to the internal power relationship. Internal power relationship is again a very important parameter which is part of our internal environment. See, internal power relationship represents the factors like amount of support the top management enjoys from the different levels of the employees, their shareholders, the board of the directors, and also how importantly they influence the decisions and their implementation, which is represents the internal power relationship. The relationship between the members of the board of directors and between the chief executive and the board of are critical factors with respect to the internal power relationship. The next parameter over here includes the human resource development, or the HR. The human resource development, or the HR, is a very important internal element of the environment, or the element of the internal environment. See, the HR represents the men. The men represents those assets which the organization can directly control. They are the only living assets. All other assets are non-living. And these assets have a different characteristics. Each asset has a different characteristics. So the characteristics of the human resource, like their skills, their quality, quantity, morale, commitment, attitude, loyalty, their experience, many more things which contribute to the strength and weakness of the organization. The organizations, it is very challenging and difficult for the organization to carry out restructuring and modernization because of the resistance by the employees many times. See, resistance is something is the opposition. Organizations, they want to upgrade themselves, they want to go with the time, with the requirement. And the manpower, it is only possible if the manpower is in the mood to support them. Or they are willing to, not the mood, they are willing to support them. Sometimes it is forcefully, sometimes it is through the internal motivation the employee support. And if it is not doing, then it becomes a challenge for the organization. Thus, the involvement, initiative, etc. of the people at the different levels may vary from organization to organization, and the organizational culture and the overall environment bearing on them, bearing over them. Now, the next topic includes the company's image and the brand equity. The company's image and the brand equity. The image of the company matters while raising the finances, either going for the joint ventures or even going for the various alliances with respect to the marketing intermediaries or entering into the various purchase or the sales deeds, contracts or launching a new product, etc. Thus, the brand equity is also relevant in various of these cases. This is again a very important internal tool or internal parameter when we talk about the organization's internal environment. It is many times being ignored, many times not being studied. Next is about, over here is the image of the company matters while rising the finances from the joint ventures and other alliances. The soliciting, marketing intermediaries, purchase, contracts, and these are cases. Now there are few miscellaneous factors. The miscellaneous factors can be divided into the 4 parts and can be studied under the 4 parts. The first one represents the physical assets, second represents the R&D and the technological abilities and capabilities, the third represents the marketing resources, and the fourth represents the financial factors. When we talk about the physical assets and the facilities, the production capacity, technology, efficiency, and the productive apparatus, distribution, logistics, etc. are among those factors which are represent the competitiveness of the firms. And how strong a company is able to handle these things represents their internal strength. Second, when we talk about the R&D and the technological abilities, these are something which represents how innovative, how creative, how out of box a company is, how new things a company can come up or handle with, and those things can make the company differentiate from other one. This is something which is very important. Third is marketing resources such as organization for marketing quality, their ability to handle or create their brand equity, their distribution network, and also handling the various marketing resources represent their marketing efficiencies. Therefore, thus, any brand extension or the product introduction or the innovation is always linked with the marketing resources. And the last over here represent the financial factors. The financial factors represent the financial policies, it represents the financial position and the capital structure, and also it represents the internal environment which affect the business performances overall. The last topic for the today's slide, which represents the external environment, in which we have so far studied the internal part. Now we are going to study about the external environment. In the external environment, the first topic we will be studying about the macro environment. See, the macro environment consists of those factors which the companies have an immediate, they are the company's immediate environment, which affect the performance of the company, and this includes the suppliers, the marketing intermediaries, the competitors, the customers, and the public. Remember, this is very important. This macro environment includes suppliers, marketing intermediaries, the competitors, the customers, and the public. Thus, the macro environment, on the other side, the macro environment consists of all those factors which the company doesn't include in the macro environment, which can be, for example, economical nature, technical, political, cultural, and so on. Thus, macro environment factors are more intimately linked with the company, and therefore they are said to be as a, they are therefore called as a macro environment with respect to the macro environment. The macro environment forces need not necessarily affect the firm in the particular as the way the macro represents, and therefore we need to remember these macro environment factors are those factors which can impact the business a lot. For example, if I'm immediately taking up each individual example, for example, the suppliers. Suppliers are those people who give the raw material to the organization. They are those elements which can control the organization inventories directly. If we do not have a punctual supplier or a good supplier or a careful supplier, definitely our production and operational part will get impacted. Similarly, customers are those people to whom the company are going to sell their finished products. They are going to sell or they are going to get the revenue from those customers. So customer selection, customer responses and the customer feedback is again a very important tool for the organization. The next part includes the marketing intermediaries. These are those selling partners through which the company send their items from the organizational production area till the customer or the consumer's household. So these intermediaries include their wholesaler, retailers, channel partners, agents, brokers, sub-brokers, even sales teams and multiple other people. These are those marketing intermediaries which may not be in control of the organization, but they are selling or they are promoting the article of the company because of some reasons. And the selection of those marketing intermediaries is again a very important part. Then about the competitors, customers and the public plays a very important role. Public may damage or can create the opinion of for anyone. Their feedback, their things becomes a very important tool for the organization. Whereas customers are those people who are actually paying for the organization or who are actually consuming the articles. And competitors are rivals who may or may not have the same product but maybe in the same business line, maybe with the same setups, or maybe having same revenue structures, because of which we identify them as our competitors. So this is about the macro environment. Thank you. This is for the today's class. I am Vivek Birla with you. For any queries, you can contact back. Thank you.